Welcome to Slide Guitar, Lesson 1. In this series, we're going to walk you through the techniques you need in order to be able to play slide guitar. Then we're going to help you to improve your skills so that you are able to play slide guitar well. There's a big difference between being able to play slide, which most people can do. You just slap a slide on your finger and run it up and down the fretboard, and being able to play well. You listen to people like George Harrison, Lowell George, Joe Walsh, and people such as this who are really great slide guitar players, and you can hear the kinds of things that slide guitar is capable of doing in helping a song be something more than it would have been had a standard approach been taken in that song. So let's just get right to it, and we're going to walk you through everything you need to get yourself started and moving forward to play slide guitar. But wait, press that red button down there in the corner to subscribe to Outsmart Your Guitar. It is free after all. And hit the notification bell if you want to be told when new lessons are posted, which is usually about once a week. Outsmart Your Guitar is also on Patreon, so go on over there. There's a link down below in the description, and subscribe at one of two levels and help support my efforts to continue to bring you high quality lesson material so you can learn, play, and grow to be the guitar player you desire to be, to play the music you love, even write your own tunes. All right? Okay, let's get on with the lesson. Before we get into the bulk of the lesson here, what I want to do is talk a little about slides and guitars. Okay, so first things first, the slide. This is a slide. This is my slide. You'll notice it's a nice thick little piece of glass. It's actually a wine bottle neck, a real wine bottle neck, yeah. A company a few years ago started putting these out. I decided to buy it because the slides I currently had were very unsatisfactory to me. And this turned out to be actually a great slide, and I love it. And I've had it for 20 plus years. You'll notice I'm using my third finger. You can use your fourth, third, second. I've never used my first finger, but I've seen a couple of people do that. You're going to have to figure out which finger works for you as you proceed in learning to play slide. For me, the third finger turned out to be the most comfortable after experimenting for a while. Okay? Now, slides can be made out of almost anything as long as it's a cylinder, right? So it can be made out of steel, brass, aluminum, copper, aluminum electrical conduit, yeah. And well, I even used the center thing for a toilet roll, right? It was made of aluminum. I was at a gig. We were playing, what's the song? Slow Turning by John Hyatt. And I had forgotten my slide, and so I needed one. Well, I noticed the toilet roll thing was metal, so I pulled it apart, found the bit that worked on my finger, used it at the gig, pulled the song off, everything went fine. I was pretty surprised, as were a few people. You did what? Okay, so yeah, a slide can be pretty much whatever works for you, okay? Now I want to show you a couple pictures. The first picture shows the slide from, say, the audience perspective. You'll notice the slide is top dead center over the fret. This is because when you normally fret a string with your finger, the break point is at the top center of the fret. So with a slide, you have to duplicate that, and you put the slide right over the top center of the fret to get proper pitch. The second picture shows the slide from the player's perspective. As you can see, again, the slide is sitting right over the center of the top of the fret so that the pitch will be correct. Now, if you're a little lower than the fret or a little above the fret, you're going to be flat and sharp respectively and not in pitch. And you'll sound something like a drunk sailor stumbling down the street, slurring his speech. Okay? Now, I want to talk about guitars. The guitar neck radius is specifically what I want to address. Guitars have radius of their fretboards from 7¼ inches up to 16 inches. Fender traditionally used a 7¼ inch radius for many years. Martin uses a 16-inch radius on their acoustic guitars. All right, so let me start with the Fender 7¼ inch. Here's my trusty old Fender, and you'll see there is quite a pronounced curvature. Now, if you don't know what a radius is, you have a circle, and from the center to the edge of the circle is the radius. All right? On a Fender, old traditional Fender, that's 7¼ inch, so you're going to have quite a pronounced curvature. Later, Fender went to 9½ inches, as I have on this particular Telecaster. As you can see, it's a little flatter because now the radius is 9½ inches. So you have a more gentle curvature. My Les Paul has a 12-inch radius. You can see that's pretty flat because 12 inches is longer than 7¼ and 9½. So the curve is going to be much gentler even still. So Gibsons tend to be great for slide guitar. I still find 9½ inch radius guitars to be okay. 7¼ inch, not unless I have no choice. Okay? Now, let's talk about string action, the height of the strings above the fret. I tend to play with my action just a little higher than typical. I'm not a shredder, so I don't need the string hovering just above the fret, barely off the fret. I have a little distance there. And that really suits using a slide well, because when you press down on the strings with the slide, you're not just resting it on the strings, you're actually pressing ever so little. And that can be up to a 32nd of an inch or so in actual compression of the string. And if you have your strings just hovering above the fret, you're going to be banging into the frets, and that's going to cause fret rattle. So if you have a little extra distance, you have a little bit of cushion before the string hits the fret. So you can put a little bit of contact of the slide into the strings to make a nice, firm, clean sounding note when you pluck the strings. Okay? Now, you can have a guitar set up specifically for slide work. If you do have much lower action than normal, get a guitar, set it aside, have it adjusted for slide work. Have your tech set that up, and then you'll adjust to that, right? And if you have guitars open tuned for slide work, even more important to have a guitar set aside for slide work that is specifically open tuned, because you don't want to tune during a gig, right? So that's a couple of things I want you to pay attention to as we move forward into the lesson. And speaking of the lesson, let's now get you working into learning to play slide guitar. Okay, as you can see in the diagram, we're in the key of A, and we're playing the pentatonic minor scale. And we're in standard tuning as a result. I like to start off slide lessons in standard tuning because it's all familiar territory. You're not learning something new with regard to where all the notes are. The new is the slide, and everything else stays pretty normal as far as location of notes, okay? Now, I use my third finger, and I'm going to show you why I use my third finger. It's my second finger, when I have the slide on all 6 strings, can hit all 6 strings and mute things to help reduce string noise, okay? So now the exercise is very straightforward. Remember, you want to be top dead center over the fret, right? And so we start with the 5th fret, right over the fret. Now you can kill the string with your right hand. Move up, move over. And play it through like that. Now, if you want to test yourself, play them with your fingers. And it should sound identical. And that's ascending. So if you want to pause the video and just practice the ascending, go ahead and do that for a few minutes and get comfortable with it. Then when you're ready to continue, press play and we'll do descending. All right, let's do descending. We're at the 8th fret on the 1st string. Right? And you can check it again. Should sound identical. Now you'll notice my slide doesn't stay on all 6 strings. I actually pull it over. I know some people come all the way over like this. Got a little extra schmutz in there, but they actually only have the slide on the parts they need. And they're barely hanging over on anything else. And they also tip it back a little bit for the high E versus laying it flat. And the same thing when they get over here. They actually tip it up like this. So only the string they're on mostly is being touched by the slide. So there's a lot of different ways to approach this as far as technique is concerned. So pause the video, practice the descending a little bit, and get comfortable with that. And then if you feel really frisky, go ahead and go up and back. And it's okay to have a little string noise too, okay? So practice that, then when you're ready to continue, press play, and we'll keep going. In the first exercise, we were concerned with getting you learning to hit the notes precisely, getting your slide to hit top dead center of every note so that you can have that precision and that punctuation when you want it. You want to be able to hit a note precisely when you want to hit it individually. Now what we're going to do is actually use the slide to move from one note to another note. Okay, so we, again, pentatonic major or minor, first position. We're going to start and just play. Move up to the next note and then move over. Okay, so there's the exercise. Be careful and be precise as you do this. So pause the video, practice the ascending for a few minutes, get yourself comfortable sliding from one note to the next. Then when you're ready to continue, press play, and we will do the descending. Okay, let's descend. So we're back on the first string, starting at the 8th fret and going backwards. Extra string noise. There we go. Right? Okay, so you want to practice that, and then When you've got the descending pretty well, combine ascending and descending. Up and back for a few minutes. Get yourself comfortable sliding up, sliding down. Okay, then when you're ready to continue, press play and we'll keep going. Now I want to show you a little bit of the second position. So we're going to start in the first position, then we're going to transition up to the second position of the pentatonic minor scale, all right? So you're going to start at the 7th fret of the 4th string. Oops. Here's where we transition. Okay, now what you can do is you can also practice sliding after you get this done. So you can practice both the precision and a little bit of the sliding. You can slide anywhere, right? Instead of here, slide there, right? It's all up to you how you want to practice that. But try every variation, okay? Pause the video, practice this for a couple of minutes, get it down, and then if you want, take the first exercises and this exercise and put it all to a metronome to help get your precision and timing down a little better, okay? Then when you're ready to continue, press play and we'll keep going. All right, let's learn a couple of licks. Lick A, very straightforward. I'll count it out as I play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, on the and of 2, you pluck and slide into 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and then continue plucking 4 and then 1. Now on that last note you can make it a slow slide or a fast slide. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You just got to be up at the final note before its value ends. Here it's 4 beats, right? Or you can make it quick. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right? So pause the video, play through that lick, get it down, make it work, count it out, put it to a metronome. All right? Then when you're ready to continue, press play, and we'll keep going. Lick B is a kind of variation on a very popular blues lick. You slide into the first note, play the next 2 notes, and then you slide into beats 3 and 4's notes. Okay? So we go like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Like that. Let me do it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So go ahead, pause the video, practice this one as well, and count it out. Make sure you're playing things precisely as they are called out. Those slides can begin anywhere. I began around the 8th fret, and here around the 8th fret for both of those. So it's really very, subjective where that slide begins, but it has to be in the relative proximity because You got to hit those notes precisely, right? So take your time here. As I said, pause the video, practice this again and again, get it down, put it to a metronome. Then, when you're ready to continue, we'll keep going. The next two licks are rooted in a shuffle feel. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see what's called a metric modulation. 2/8 notes equals a quarter and an eighth note. Now you see the 3 bracket above that, designating that it is in essence a triplet feel. So, and that's how you get the shuffle feel at 1 and 2 and 3. Dum, dee-dum, dee-dum, that hesitation feel. Okay? So, lick C is a variant of a very famous opening line popularized by Elmore James, a great slide guitar player. So basically you slide into the first note, repeat that, and then you come over to the 3rd string and then the 4th string to finish the lick out. So how it goes is like this. 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a. Now, there's variations to this where you can slide into that and slide into that as well. It's really up to you how you want to approach that. But learn it clean first. 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a. That way you'll get it straight. Then you can add the color to it. But you slide in to the first bit. And you can start anywhere around here. You can start way back here. So you can have a big, long distance, but you've got to get there on the 1, right? Okay, so pause the video and practice this, and then put it in time at a tempo you can play it smooth and flowing. And don't forget the shuffle feel. When you're ready to continue, press play, and we'll do the next lick. Lick D is a variation on a very famous blues lick played with the slide. So you see there's a lot of sliding into notes here, so you have to be very careful in how you execute this. Let me play through it for you, nice and slow, and I'll count as I go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, let me do it one more time. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, so pause the video. Walk through this mechanically. What exactly are you supposed to be doing and when? Be very careful as you go through this. It's not as difficult as it appears. And once you understand what you're supposed to do, it'll fall into place very quickly. So take your time doing this. When you get it fairly smoothed out after the mechanics are well in hand and you start getting it in time, put in the metronome and play along with the metronome and really nail the timing on this. Okay? And don't worry if it's slow. Slow is okay. You want to learn to do things well. And when you have a little more time between notes, you have a little more time to consider what you're being asked to do. All right? So when you're done, restart the video and we'll move forward. What I want to do now is cover the 3rd and the 4th positions of the pentatonic minor scale in A. We're going to start in the 4th position, and then we're going to come across and we're going to work our way back. All right? So, starting at the 12th fret on the 5th string. Come back to the 3rd position. Now you may have heard a little bit of string noise on these wound strings. It's the nature of the beast, but you learn to overcome it. So pause the video, practice this carefully. The frets are closer together, of course, so theoretically it's a little bit easier to navigate, but it's still a lot of notes to cover. And so take your time here and get it down and put it to a metronome as well to get your timing good as well. All right? Then when you've got this fairly well in hand, go ahead, pause the video. Restart the video. We'll continue. As you did in the first position, we're going to do here, sliding from one note to the next in the ascending and then in the descending. So I'll just play through the whole thing here and then you can practice it yourself, all right? So here's what you're going for. Okay, so pause the video, play through this, be careful, pay attention, work on your technique, on how you manipulate the slide and have your fingers resting behind the slide to help mitigate some sound. If you want to mute with your picking hand, go ahead and do that as well. And practice this back and forth, then put it to a metronome and really get yourself playing in time. All right? Then, when you've got that all in hand, restart the video and you'll see what's next. I just want to pause here and remind you the beauty of this technology and the way these lessons are designed is that if you need to listen to something or watch something again, go ahead and rewind back to the spot and listen and watch again so that you can hear what it sounds like and you can see what it looks like, how it's supposed to be done. If you have the written material, you can follow along and see when things are happening because you're listening to it and looking at the written material to see when things are happening. Okay, so just wanted to drop in and remind you, always take advantage of the technology. Rewind when you need to, and then move forward when you're ready to move forward. There's no hurry to get through this lesson. Take the time you need, learn it right the first time so you don't have to come back and learn it again later, okay? So let's get on with the lesson. Okay, this lick is 4 measures long. It's in the 4th position. We borrow 1 note from the 5th position, but otherwise it's in the 4th position throughout. All right, let me play through it and then we'll walk you through how it's put together. 3, 4. One more time. 3, 4. Okay, there it is. Now, what you're doing is sliding into the 14th fret on the 3rd string, playing the next 2 notes clean, sliding into 13, in which you can do a little slow, and then getting on the end of 2 back to the 14th fret of the 3rd string, right? And then we have the 3/2 lick, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then we have a little dance for the rest of it. Hold that note, add that note. And that's it. All right? Now, let's talk about that 3/2 lick at the beginning of the 3rd measure. That's what that means when you see that bracket with the 3 and then the 3 quarter notes contained within that bracket. It's called 3/2, meaning 3 notes evenly spaced over 2 beats. Now, these are quarter notes, so that makes it a little more challenging. If you've never played a 3/2, go to our Licks and Tricks How to Play 3/2 lesson and go through that. It will walk you through how to break it down and know how to count it correctly and put the notes exactly where they belong. And you'll never have a problem with it after that ever again, because you'll know how to count it out. Eventually, you'll be able to just feel it and you won't have to count it physically. All right? Otherwise, pause the video, walk through this mechanically, get everything working, and then start to count it out and smooth it out. And remember, we're in a shuffle feel. Dum, dee, dum, dee, dum. So that's a bit of a triplet thing going on there. And then when you have it fairly smoothed out, put the metronome on and really refine it, particularly the 3/2 bit. All right? Then when you're ready to continue, press play and we'll keep going. This next lick is fairly easy, but it requires you to be pretty precise on things. So let me play through this first. It's straight time, and then I'll walk you through what you do. 3, 4. Okay, pretty straightforward. So what are you doing? On the second string, you're sliding into 13, and then you're back to 10. Then you're over to the third string at 12, add the fourth string at 12, slide up to 14 and back without hitting the strings, and then 10th fret 4th string to 12 and back with only hitting it once, and then 10th fret on the 5th string up to 12. And that's, you know, so you just hit that once, hit that, slide up and back, and then pretty straightforward stuff. Okay? So if you need to review that and look at it again, go ahead, rewind and watch the explanation in the walkthrough and the demonstration in the walkthrough, and you'll make it happen. Right? It's the whole idea. Pause the video, practice it, smooth it out, get it to a metronome, smooth it out even more, and then restart the video, and we'll wrap things up. All right, so slide guitar. If you've never played slide guitar before, this is a great introduction. You've got a lot of stuff to work with. You're familiar with the pentatonic minor scale, so now you have it in 4 positions where you're using your slide. And you've got licks as examples of application. So you really want to make sure that you understand all this. Go back and review each exercise and get each exercise working properly. You know how they're supposed to sound now, so now work them out so they sound right. If you've been toying with slide and you're kind of familiar with it, don't blow through this lesson like, yeah, I kind of got this, you know, I got it figured out. Go back and you too work on each exercise, perfect your technique, right? Don't just kind of get the idea. Forget the low-hanging fruit. Actually sit down and work out everything, every exercise this lesson gives you so that you can solidify your slide playing skills. The next lesson, you're going to need those skills. So here's what I want you to do once you've gone through everything in this lesson. I want you to put your looper out and I want you to play a really basic 12-bar blues progression into your looper at a nice easy tempo, maybe 76. And then play the scale in all four positions over the progression and play some of these licks. And play licks you know with your fingers with the slide. Start adapting some of the licks you already know how to play to the slide and see where that gets you. It's kind of cool when you take regular licks and now turn them into slide licks, okay? And do that for a while. Really get comfortable moving the slide around, silencing the strings that you don't want sounding. Now, you'll always have little artifacts. You heard in the examples that I was playing artifacts from time to time, extraneous noises that creep in. That's just the nature of the beast. Sometimes they're just unavoidable. And it's not necessarily bad technique. It's just that's the way it turned out for that particular example. There are times I played licks really clean, other times where they had artifacts, but still sounded great. So don't worry too much about the artifacts. Just work on the technique of playing slide guitar and get better at it, because lesson 2 is going to require you to have this stuff fairly well in hand, okay? So that being said, when you're ready for lesson 2, it'll be there, as will I. See you then.